What's up there guys, this is Rick. Thanks for tuning in, you're watching Fanfare for the Conscious, and in the video today we're going to be asking what is the lawful remedy. Let's dive in. So, what is the lawful remedy? Well, the lawful remedy is a method as developed by Anna Wright and some other amazing people, is a method of conferring your legal name from the law of the land, where it is under possession of the UK government and under maritime law, and conferring that lawful legal name back to the law of the land and back into your possession. So what is the law of the sea? Well, the law of the sea is based on admiralty or maritime law. It is built around rank and hierarchy, is applicable only to those who consent to it, and it is the domain of the legal fiction and the straw man. So what is the law of the land? What is this thing where we want to be? Well, the law of the land is based on natural law. Now, natural law is things that are provable by nature, by their very nature. It's built around cooperation and common management of resources. Is applicable to all living beings. Nobody is exempt from the law of the land. And is the domain of the sovereign living being, the physical entity, the tangible. Okay? So this is where your legal fiction and your straw man resides, and it has been co-opted. You have been convinced that you are actually your legal fiction and not a sovereign living being. Your legal fiction is your good name. And a good way to think about it is that even without a name, you would still exist. You would still have your thoughts, you would still have your emotions, you would still have your unique perspective on the world. Okay? So the name itself is not something tangible. It is a way of identifying you. It is a label. Okay? A noun. Yeah? A noun is the name of a person, a place, or a thing. Okay? We'll talk a little bit about what a person is in a later video, but I'll tell you right now, a person is not what you think it is in law. A person is a label. A person is a legal fiction. It is a piece of paper. This that you see before you, this thing of flesh and blood, this thing made of the substance of the universe, this is what you are. You are human, you are sovereign, you are a living creature, a living entity. And this is the tangible, this is the real, this is what is subject to the law of the land. Your good name, the label, the thing by which you are identified in this world, can only be subject to anything beyond law of the land if you consent to it. And that is what has been manufactured here by use of the birth certificate and by the feeding of lies to you for your whole lives. That you are not actually a sovereign living being of flesh and blood, but you are this name, this fictional thing, this concept, this label. And it's time that we started to reattach that label directly to our sovereign living beings and not allow it to be co-opted by fictional entities that don't exist. So I'm just going to now expand a little bit on land law and maritime law and self-sovereignty with a little Venn diagram that we've got here, just to help you understand a little bit more about the concepts that we've got going on, because it is fundamental that we are able to recognise and comprehend, not understand, comprehend the exact system under which we've been placed, because it's only by understanding how the jail cell is built that you are able to dig yourself out or pick your way out, or whatever method you wish to choose. So we have two major domains here. Unlike any Venn diagram, there is a place in the middle where they overlap. Okay? So we've got land law, we've got maritime law, And the place in the middle where they overlap is self-sovereignty. That's what I've called it anyway. So the law of the land is where the living being, the flesh and blood human, actually exists. You exist in material reality, okay, on the land. We are not sea creatures, we are land-based mammals, and this is where we exist, on the land. This living being, this actual existing entity, is attached via the birth certificate to the legal fiction, which is the name. And you will see this in documents as all caps your name, Joe Bloggs, whatever. Okay, and that is how you can always identify when it is the legal fiction being called, because it is always in block capitals. This legal fiction, this name, is not material. Without a name, you would still be a living being. You would still be subject to natural laws like the law of gravity. Okay? Like the laws of magnetism, like the laws of conservation of energy. You are subject to all of these things. These are immutable, these are natural, these are provable in nature. However, you've been convinced that this is what you are, that you are your name, you are this legal fiction, you are this ethereal thing with no substance. And that exists in the maritime law domain, where Acts of Parliament, where statutes and legislation and policy exist. Maritime law is based on ethereal concepts, non-existing ideas, okay? Things that can't be proven to be solid, all right? And this is the domain of hierarchy and the law of man, the surrender of rights, and the domain of indiscriminate competition. Now, there is a place in between where there exist a couple of documents that recognise the fundamental basis of natural law and then codify the various rights and various concepts to which people are able to agree. And these two documents are the Magna Carta and the Charter of the Forest. Now, the Magna Carta was the document of the management. It was the document of the barons, the document of the people who were in control of pieces of land on which lived serfs, employees, people who chose to be underneath the rule of this management. The Charter of the Forest was a companion document intended to protect the rights of the freemen, those people who lived outside of the domain of the barons, that lived outside of the domain of the management, that did not agree to have themselves dictated to and managed by an external entity, the people who decided that they had self-sovereignty. This was where their rights and responsibilities were codified. So to understand the natural remedy, what we've got to do is we've got to try and take this legal fiction out of the maritime space and bring it into the possession of the sovereign living being, so that they can choose to associate their name with the rules of a given association or the policy of a club or some other group entity where there is a need for additional rules in order to allow the people in that group to work better together. So everything beyond this line here, where we move out of the law of the land into maritime law, this is where the sovereign, provable, existing things start to be complemented by reason and philosophy. Beyond this line is where natural law and common law and all of the provable things about the world cease to be considered, and now only philosophy is considered. So natural law and common management is in land law, and acts, statutes, legislation are over here in maritime law. To describe natural law to you, these are things that are provable about the universe. Gravity is a natural law, magnetism is a natural law. the flow of energy between varying different species on the planet. That is natural law. We've had in order to get us away from this idea of natural law, we've had our perspective on what is real and the way the world actually exists distorted. And this has come through Darwinism, amongst other things. We'll get into that in another video, but suffice to say, Darwinism has helped to destroy the truth of natural law. Because nature is a dance, nature is a song, nature is a painting. And any discordant things in the moment have a greater purpose. The lion does not hunt the antelope to extinction. The antelope does not eat all the grass. There is not these simple linear relationships between things. It is a complex web. And the whole idea that nature is a war between various factions is a fallacy in itself. Again, I'll be covering that later in a little bit more on Darwinism and how that has been co-opted and manipulated and twisted to serve this agenda of taking us away from land law and bringing us into maritime law. Final thing to be said on land law is the basic 3 tenets that it operates on. Okay? You've got one presumption, which is that because life exists, it has a right to exist. That is the premise. Life causes no harm, no loss, and does not lie. It exists in truth with its nature. It is the lion's nature to hunt the antelope. It is man's nature to develop the planet and to influence it and to mould it and work with it to achieve our goals. Living in line with your nature is living in line with natural law and being a sovereign living being. If you're an American, AnnaVonRights.com, the American States Assembly.net and AmericaUnincorporated.org, you can reclaim your sovereign birthright as a living being today. There is a one-page document, which when applied correctly in a court will assert you as being a sovereign living being and make you untouchable by this. All this maritime law goes away. This line here, that is where you exist now. With this sovereign legal fiction in your hand and your ability to place it in whichever group, association you choose. Anyway, I hope that cleared things up a little bit for you. If you did like this content, please hit subscribe. And don't forget to hit the like button, share it around to as many people as you can. The more people we've got involved with this, the stronger we become and the quicker we can take down this system of hierarchy. Don't forget to find us at lawfulbank.com. Take care of yourselves, guys. Don't forget to stay free. I'll see you next time.